I was consumed, absolutely totally consumed by panic and dread and the feeling that I was about to die. Because today's vlog was such a failure, the weather is absolutely not good here in Scotland today. It's like kind of depressing. I thought about doing another segment on this vlog because I need to keep the show going. It's a daily vlog after all, and the only way I'm going to manage to do that on days like today is to introduce other segments into this vlog. Q&As, story times. Today is going to be a story time, right? So what is really story time? Story time, in essence, is my deep, dark personal stories about something that's happened to me in my past, about something that might even continue to be happening to me, but something that I can share with you guys, which is literally a story, a life story, and they might be things that might help others, and hopefully will be valuable and interesting or funny or sad or whatever, something that evokes emotions. I'm a storyteller at the end of the day. So that's what Storytime is about. It's a segment that I want to introduce into this channel more often, especially on days like today when the vlog mission failed because the weather is so awful. And I asked on Twitter what do people think I should talk about in my first ever story time, and I got a really great suggestion from another vlogger called Denise who lives in the United States about anxiety. I want to talk to you guys about my worst ever episode of anxiety, panic attack night that I've ever had. And you know what, I think talking about it like this and realising how much better I am in my life and how I am pretty much free from the burden of panic attacks is not only self-healing for me and good reflection, so that never happens again, but it's also good for other people out there, the many other people who are suffering from anxiety. I know anxiety is a huge problem out there. Like, if I look at my circle of friends and family, there are so many people out there who are suffering from extreme anxiety, panic attacks, which leads to all kinds of nasty stuff. I virtually don't know anybody who hasn't been affected by it in some way or another. I think there is a global crisis of anxiety out there. It certainly affects your quality of life in a bad way. And that's why I want to talk about them, because like I have got a lot of experience of anxiety and panic attacks. I think one of the worst ever anxiety experiences I've had in my life was when I lived in London. I was doing a job, I've talked about this before in the vlog, but I was doing a job in London that I really did not enjoy. I didn't think it was allowing me to fulfill my ambitions. I didn't think it was where I was meant to be. And it just made me anxious in general working in that environment. I should say I've had anxiety since I was about 14-year-old. So for over 15 years now, I've suffered anxiety. But I guess through my teenage years, it was extraordinarily bad. Then in my early 20s as well, I had another serious flare-up. I think anxiety is difficult to deal with when you're a teenager in particular because you don't have the experience necessary to cope with it. I think then in early adulthood, when you're kind of figuring yourself out, it can also be a vulnerable time. But I think certainly in periods of your life when you feel you have little control over circumstances, that is when anxiety flares up. And when I lived in London for 5 years, as I say, I was doing something I didn't want to do. I was living an extremely unhealthy lifestyle. I was overweight and my anxiety was at a peak. And that often led to panic attacks. And I want to talk about one particular night and what happened and how I got over it. It was probably about 11 o'clock at night. I was going to bed and I just got into bed actually. Tekka was there as well. And basically something that I suffer, and I've always suffered when I've had anxiety since I was a teenager, is heart palpitations. If you don't know what heart palpitations are, they're quite common for people who have anxiety, especially those who have health anxiety. People who suffer health anxiety tend to be extremely aware of their heartbeat. I don't know why that happens, it's just a fact. Heart palpitations can be classified and described in many different ways. They mean a lot of different things to many different people, and even in medical terms, it's very ambiguous. It's difficult to track down, nail down exactly what a heart palpitation is. Some people just say it's a fast heart rate. For me, it's different. For me, my palpitations is a fluttery feeling in the chest. Normally, that jelly fluttering feeling, like there is a bird trapped in your chest cage, lasts for a couple of seconds. Nowadays, I have learned to identify the symptoms very early on, and I can almost completely ignore them, live a healthy, happy life. But there have been times in my life when anxiety has generally affected my well-being, when I've not been able to ignore it. So that particular night, I went to bed and I just laid down. I got that usual fluttery palpitation feeling in my chest. My heart was not beating normally. Jumped out of bed and it kept going. Usually they stop, but that night they kept going. It didn't stop. 30 seconds later, my heart was not beating, functioning normally. It was fluttering. And I got myself into such an absolute state of desperation in the period of about 30 seconds, as I say. And I was consumed, absolutely totally consumed by panic and dread and the feeling that I was about to die. That's exactly what I felt. I thought I was going to die any second now. I am living my last seconds. I got Tekka to help me. I said, get out of bed. I need to call the ambulance. And that's exactly what I did. I called the ambulance. Unfortunately, it was a Friday night, I believe, and the ambulance service in London was chock-a-block. I described the feelings to the person, the operator on the phone, 999, and they were like, we're going to send an ambulance, just hold tight. I kept on the phone to the woman, and I was in a state of absolute desperation. I got some clothes on. Tekka and I, we rushed outside into the fresh air, hoping it would help, and it didn't. Like, this was like 5 minutes in, my heart was still fluttering. It was not beating normally. I had this fluttering palpitation sensation. It's horrible. It knocks the wind out of your chest when you get it, and it just doesn't feel right. And as I say, people who have anxiety, health anxiety in particular, tend to be very aware of this feeling. Tekka was trying her best to calm me down, but nothing could console me. And I think it was probably about 11 minutes it took the ambulance to arrive, right? I was hoping the palpitations at that point would just continue so that a medical professional could feel what I was feeling, could see it on their screens. But as soon as the ambulance appeared in the street, as soon as I saw it, this brief moment of comfort came over me and the heart palpitations stopped. Got in the ambulance and the panic attack returned. Even though the palpitations had stopped, I thought I was going to die. I thought there was something tragically wrong with my heart. They hooked me up to all their machines and said, yeah, my heart rate is extremely fast. I'm going through anxiety. They helped me breathe. They took me to the accident and emergency where I stayed most of that night. And it was terrifying, literally the whole night. Speaking to doctors, the nurses, getting all the tests. I got heart screens. It was awful. And that was one of the few nights in my life where I've had a panic attack, anxiety attack, where I was unable to control it on my own. I was absolutely unable. So I kind of tapped out and said, listen, can't do this. I need some help. So they gave me a sedative. I can't remember what medicine it was. I think it was a Valium potentially. The doctors there on A&E, they were brilliant, and they said I was fine. There was nothing wrong with my heart immediately, but they wanted to send me to some professionals. So they basically got me an appointment with a heart specialist, a cardio specialist in London, who I went to see about 2 or 3 weeks later. They did all the heart examinations you can do. They hooked me up to all these different machines. I got heart scans, and basically they described the type of palpitations that I was having and describing are pretty normal and absolutely harmless. So I was relieved after that. It was good to get tested out anyway. I needed to get tested for my own peace of mind. I think that was really important. But I just remember that night. So although Denise said in the comments, in the question, what was a really bad night of anxiety for me and how did I control it? That night I couldn't control it. I had to get medication. I was unable to do anything about it. And I think that's fine. But that was my experience. One of the worst nights of my life, I think. I am in a place now, thankfully, over the last 5-6 years, where I feel like I'm doing something that makes me fulfilled. It connects me to a global community, all you guys watching, and I am in a really good place. I have been able, I believe, through experience to suppress anxiety and panic attacks. So though the physical feeling of palpitations, they don't go away. Like, I've had them for many years now, and even today I still get them occasionally, but I'm able to suppress the anxiety that goes along with it. Anxiety is a condition that will remain with me forever, I believe, but I have the experience and the knowledge now to kind of tame them. I went to lots of classes when I was in that stage, when I was in that really bad place, about how to cope with anxiety, coping strategies and techniques to calm anxiety. None of those helped. I thought they were all rubbish. Not for me anyway. I believe the only way that I've been able to suppress my anxiety is through having a better, healthier lifestyle. Let me explain. Throughout my teenage years, and indeed when I had that really bad crisis in London, I was doing things in my life that I did not want to do. I was living a lifestyle that was totally unfulfilling, that made me sad, it made me anxious. My anxiety was at a peaked level anyway, so any little thing that happened to me was amplified in my mind much more than I would be thinking now. It was a bad state. As I said, I was overweight, I was really unhealthy in general, and I was in a bad place. When you are in a life cycle like that, I think you're more susceptible for your anxiety to blow over the top. That can lead to panic attacks, which I had many times in my life. Thankfully, nowadays, as I say, I feel fulfilled, I feel happy, and I think things are better. Here is what my coping strategy is for anybody with anxiety. My aim with these videos and these story times to tell deep and personal stories about myself, times that were not necessarily flattering for me, but my goal is to inspire one or maybe two other people out there to make a difference in their life and to get better. Because as I say, anxiety is a huge problem out there in the world, and I think people just need the right help. It's difficult to find it. But here's my belief, right? When you have anxiety, it takes up so much of your physical energy, as well as your mental energy as well. It takes up everything you've got when you allow it to. And then when you're in that cycle, it's hard to break out because every single day you feel like you need to give over your life's energy to anxiety, to dealing with it. And when I was in that stage, I was in exactly the same loop. All my energy, because it takes up a lot of your energy, goes to anxiety. This is what I did. I found a passion and I went all in. I put all my energy into something that I'm passionate about and that I love, all my energy, all my spare energy, that I have absolutely nothing to give left to anxiety. I tend to be quite an addictive and passionate person anyway, so when I find something I like to do, I go all in. And that is what I've been doing the last 3 years with this YouTube thing. I absolutely love this. And I'm putting everything I have into it. I literally have no space for anxiety in my life. I have suppressed anxiety by putting my all into something I care deeply about, and I care deeply about this relationship I have with you guys, this community. It has helped me enormously. There's been other times in my life when I've been able to do that as well, and it's always worked the same. When I have a passion, when I can put all my energy into something that I feel is positive and may make a difference to 1 or 2 people's lives, when I feel fulfilled, that is when anxiety cannot control me. Anxiety will still always be there in the background, someplace in my head in a deep dark spot. But if I give it no time and no energy, it rarely rears its ugly head. So that is my advice to anybody. If you're going through a bad period, find something you're passionate about. It doesn't matter what it is. Find anything you're passionate about, anything that you can give all your energy into, and go for it. Put everything you've got into it. Don't give anxiety any of your time or energy, your physical or mental energy, to beat you down, because that's what will happen if you give over to it. That is the best practical advice I can give to anybody suffering anxiety, and I hope it helps. So for all those people who have anxiety, I hope this does help. Let me know your thoughts. And for any of you guys watching who you think it might be able to help someone you know who has got anxiety, someone who suffers in your family or friend circle, let them know. I would really appreciate that. This is what this is about. Anxiety is a terrible affliction which leads to panic attacks and a lot of other big problems in your life. So I know what it feels like. I've had the experience and I'm no longer in that phase, and I'm not going to let it come back. There's a lot of other people who could find value in that and can do the same for their own lives. So that was it for today's vlog and this story time. I hope, as I say, I hope you might find it valuable or interesting. Thanks so much for your support, guys. It literally means everything to me. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a good night, afternoon, morning, evening, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are in the world. Take care.